Hello and welcome to another episode of Ludwig Life. If this is the first time you're joining me, Ludwig Life is a series of unscripted webisodes, short webisodes, basically aimed at introducing myself to the world and promoting the book, which I've just released on Amazon.com through Kindle Publishing for your Kindle-friendly e-reader. It's entitled A Viacub's Tale by Jason Ludwig. So this week, I was thinking about what I might talk about in this episode. And there's a lot of different things in the book that I could talk about. Well, one of them that I'd like to talk about because of a project that has just come up is language. When I started writing A Viacub's Tale, I wasn't sure of a lot of things. I just started writing. And there were a lot of surprises in store for me when I started writing and when I continued writing. I got farther along in the book and I discovered that you could have surprises as an author. And that kind of shocked me. I figured, you write what you're thinking or what you know or whatever, and the book would come out pretty much like you planned. That's not really true. There are a lot of things that I was just shocked that I came up with kind of on the fly, and a lot of the decisions that I made on the fly that I didn't really anticipate. Here's an example. When I started writing the book, I came to the first section of dialogue between characters, and I hadn't thought about it, but I just started writing the dialogue basically to describe the regional dialect that the characters were using. If anybody knows me in real life, they know that I have a tendency to do a lot of crazy and funny voices all the time. I've been always really fascinated and interested with different accents. I love people that can do impressions and things. And I remember growing up, I would study very carefully when people spoke who had an accent. And I probably wasn't really listening to what they were saying, but I was really focused on how they were saying it. I can remember a specific assembly where this guy came to school and he was talking about his travels in China and in Egypt and everything, and the guy was from Austria. He just had the strangest accent, and I remember just keying in so clearly on how he spoke. And it's been like that for my whole life. So I know that a lot of other people who know me from role playing or whatever know that I do a lot of voices in the role playing. And my goal with role playing was always to completely immerse my players in the story that was taking place. And part of that is that the people that they met in the story, they don't all sound the same. They all have different individual quirks and dialects. So I do a lot of those. So when I was writing A Viacub's Tale, I was really surprised that as soon as I started writing the dialogue, I wrote the stuff in dialect. And I hadn't planned on it, so I just kept writing and writing and writing. And almost every character in the story has specific language devices to their dialogue, which make them unique. And I realized pretty quickly that what I was doing was trying to immerse the reader, just like I was trying to immerse my players in role-playing. I was trying to immerse the reader in the story and the world. I want those readers to hear those voices. Typically, when I have read other books, authors don't usually do this. I kind of wondered why. I mean, they go to great lengths painting this great description and this great story and all these intricate details and plot lines and things like that. And then the dialogue is pretty normal. I mean, everybody kind of sounds the same. At least that's how the language, of the sentences is written. Hello, how are you, kind of things. So I figured, I thought, why should it be like that? If these creatures and these anthropomorphic, characters of my world are all so rich and unique and, stuff like that, they definitely don't talk normal. They definitely have accents. They definitely use specific words, and then they omit other words as well. Excuse me while I take this pop-up down, which is going to come up again in a second. So once I continued writing, um, all the dialogue in the book became, regionally dialected, I guess is what I could say. I did some research into other authors and writing tips and things like this. Believe it or not, one of the writing tips that I kept seeing over and over and over again, the top 10 list of things that writers should not do. And very often it was writing with accents. They say that it, kind of puts a wall up between the reader and the author, and that it's too difficult to read. But I decided to not listen to that and to keep the dialects in there. So I hope you enjoy them as much as I enjoyed writing them, because I can hear those characters in my mind, and they don't sound like, hello, how are you? I am fine. I am feeling bad today. Obviously written a bit more descriptively than that, but they all have a very, very specific voice. Now this comes up because I have decided that I am going to produce an audiobook version of A Viakov's Tale. I've purchased a professional microphone, and I'm going to be doing the voiceover for it, the narration of it, myself. And I'm doing it because there are a lot of people that I know, a lot of friends and family, that have not picked up my book. And I keep wondering why that the circulation of my book is lacking and why I'm so frustrated. And one of the possibilities that I came up with is that people don't read. I don't read. I fall asleep as soon as I start reading. It's not because I don't like reading. I have read a lot in the past, in high school and college and shortly after and things. I never had that problem before, but let's just face it. Our lives are just so busy and full of stress and family issues and job issues and money issues and things like that, that most of us do not have the time to sit down with a book, be that a paper book or an e-reader form. So I was thinking, well, how can I possibly overcome this? And I did some studying into the subject, and it seems that a lot of people will listen to an audiobook on their iPhone, in the car, or whatever. So with that spirit in mind, trying to get everybody out there to read my book and listen to my book and try to kind of share the vision that I have of this story, I'm going to produce an audiobook. So like I said, I've purchased a microphone. It's right over there. As soon as I figure out how to use an audio program, I'll be, excuse me, doing the recording and narration myself. Now you can tell that this is completely unscripted because I just burped on camera. So I hope that you appreciate the fact that I'm not going to redo this even though I just burped on camera. So that's just me. Sometimes I burp like the rest of you. That's how it goes. So the audiobook, yeah. I do a lot of voices all the time at work, at home, everything like that. I kind of attribute this to watching a lot of Monty Python when I was in middle school and high school. George Lucas's films always feature a lot of English accents and things like that, and I pretty shamefully do a lot of versions of English accents, but that's not the only stuff that I do. Usually people are pretty entertained by it, then they ask me to do more, and I immediately clam up and say, oh, I don't do that, except spontaneously. I don't do things upon request, which usually aggravates everybody involved. So thinking about doing the audiobook, narrating it myself, I guess that without knowing it, I'm kind of fulfilling a need that I have always had to put my language skills and impression skills to work. I can't wait to see how I portray each character and read their dialogue, especially. I can't wait for you to hear that. And I hope that those of you that really do read books can try to hear that in the written word, of course. But for those of you that don't have the time or the energy to read, you will be hearing it in my voice. So look for updates on that up and coming. I'll try to post updates as often as I can. Usually in these episodes, I talk about cigars or something. I need some new cigars. I have to order some, so I don't have a new one to talk about. And I'll get back to that some other time. So, as with last episode, the baby is resisting going to sleep, very, very much so. And she's in her swing right now watching Sesame Street, and I'm hoping that she's falling asleep. We've tried about twice so far to give her the bottle, and she's really, really resistant. So, my wife Terry and I have been kept up pretty late, kept away from each other, actually, by the fact that the baby just stays awake until she's so tired that she's going to collapse because she's just so resistant to being put to bed. You know, and you say, hey, babies will cry, you should put them in their cribs and just let them cry and go to sleep and things. Well, when my daughter is so resistant that she will cry herself into a fit, she'll make herself throw up and cough and get hoarse and all that kind of thing. And then it's a whole nother kind of problem. So we've really stopped trying to just leave her in the crib and cry herself to sleep. Just doesn't seem to work. So thank you very much for watching Ludwig Life with me. Please watch the videos, respond to the videos, give me some comments to talk about the next ones. Please look into my book on Amazon.com, entitled Vyakhov's Tale. Give it a read, give me some comments. I look forward to all of them. Thank you and good night.